know a lot of people listening at the moment will have grandchildren, but do you look after them? If you do, I've got some good news for you. It's probably good for your health. And there is some scientific research to back this up. If you do have grandchildren, I'd love to know your experience. Do you feel like it helps you stay young? Or maybe you're the type of grandparent who can't or won't be involved in the childcare. You just love your grandchildren. Or maybe you're not close enough to be on hand, and you just prefer a visit every now and then. I'd love to know your experience of your grandchildren and their impact on your life. So 1300 222 891 is the phone line, or you can text through on 0467 922 891. And if you don't know how to text through, ask your grandchildren. They'll probably doing it already. Dr. Roseanne Freak-Poli is an epidemiologist at Monash University. Epidemiologist, sorry, at Monash University. She's been researching the health impacts of looking after your grandchildren. She joins us now. Hello, Doctor.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Now, I called you an epidemiologist. Is dermy and demi different, or I just said it wrong?
It's epidemiology. So we're looking at things that are traditionally spread, like the COVID pandemic.
Oh, yes. Derm would be skin, wouldn't it?
Dermatology skin, yes. But because we've moved away from infectious diseases, we now are focusing on chronic diseases and things earlier in life that will prevent chronic diseases and keep us living well and healthy into older age.
Wonderful. This is what we've got you on for. So I have a 2-year-old, which explains why I can't read words properly, but also I've never felt closer to my own mortality. I haven't slept for a while. Tell us about your study and what you looked at.
So what we did is we talked to 12,000 Australians aged 70 years or more that were relatively healthy at baseline. So that meant they had no prior cardiovascular disease or cancer in the last 5 years and had never had cognitive decline. So they were healthy, and of those people, a number of them were grandparents, and we followed them over 9 years, and what we found was that the grandparents that were engaging in the childcare, for the men or the grandfathers, they had a 40% lower mortality rate, and for the females or the grandmothers, it was 70% lower mortality rate.
I didn't expect you to go that high. I thought, that's good for the boys, but so 40% for the males and 70% for the...
Oh, sorry, I said 17.
Okay, well, 7. Right.
No, I don't. Yeah. So, but either way, I think that's a great initiative to sort of keep people active with their grandchildren, personally. But we also found some differences with maybe why it's benefiting men and women differently. First of all, men tended to increase or sustain their physical activity, as well as have positive health behaviours, whereas women tended to report better life satisfaction and happiness associated with babysitting or child minding.
Okay. Right. So what are the factors that make looking after grandchildren so beneficial to your health? Is it the kind of having to get up and down off the couch and onto your knees, and is it the fake tea that you're being offered all the time? What are the things, what are the activities that are really contributing to this?
Well, first of all, we know that having purpose improves well-being and life satisfaction. So I think that having grandchildren in your life that you're actively caring for would give someone purpose. But also, as you know, and many people listening would know, that every minute with children is completely different. So they're keeping us on our toes, and that's physically and mentally. So I think it's very different ways of engaging with people, sometimes very intense and stressful situations that you're putting up with. But yes, I certainly think that that's much more beneficial than not engaging.
Yeah. Today my daughter decided she doesn't like blueberries anymore, and that was a big change from the other 2.5 years. Okay, so it's just about that kind of mental aerobics and physical aerobics as well. We've got a text here from Chris who says, no, Jason, that is what the children say to encourage their parents to look after their kids. My grandchildren led us to drink. When they leave here, we need a gin and tonic, and we're usually teetotalers, but we love them. So Chris maybe doesn't completely agree, but Chris might be around for longer than she or he realises.
Yes, by engaging, there are other benefits that they're receiving that they probably are not fully aware of. And the other thing I've been thinking about is what are the implications, or what can we do to encourage people to engage with maybe not necessarily their grandchildren, but other children in the community. Not everyone has the family ties.
Yes.
So the couple of things I've been thinking about is like systems for intergenerational connection. And one of the examples are nursing homes for 4-year-olds. Have you seen that program?
Oh, yes, very much so.
And this is where they attach childcare centres to a nursing home. And in the TV example, they were doing this on a small scale. And what I loved is that even the older person, the man who did not want to be part of the program, at the end of the program, he really said that he enjoyed it and found benefits. So I really have high hopes that that type of connection could become more readily available in Australia.
Did you have a look into differences between cultures and if that had any impacts on your results?
There are some limitations, what we found. So at the moment, the sample that we had, because they were relatively healthy, I would say, or compared to the average Australian population, quite healthy, and aged 70 years or more, they were recruited for a different study purpose. We don't have a huge range of cultural diversity in the sample. So a majority of them were white Caucasian participants, but it's certainly interesting interplay with also expectations around child minding intergenerationally. And I believe that's where the research needs to go next, is whether or not people are doing what they want or if they're doing too much.
Oh, okay. Right. I guess other cultures have different experiences of intergenerational living. Sometimes they're already in the house and it's kind of a given that the grandparents will look after the grandkids for the first couple of years, and then the grandkids kind of help the grandparents out a bit after that as well. So, lots of stuff to dig into there. You said that this was a 9-year study. So, are you doing other things during that time as well? Other studies that will pay off in a couple of years, or are you only doing this study for 9 years?
So it was actually part of a larger study called Esprit, where we looked at low-dose aspirin and whether or not that was beneficial for people who were not at risk of cardiovascular disease and a number of other diseases. And what we found was that it is not effective, meaning that people who do not have a risk of cardiovascular disease do not need to take low-dose aspirin, but once you have a risk, it's highly beneficial. So we were determining whether or not we should do a widespread prevention approach with aspirin.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's such a long time to be focused on one thing. It's great that you've found other things you can pull out of the study.
Yeah.
You did mention that. Sorry, did you mean?
Oh, I just want to say back on when you were talking about intergenerational living before, and how certain cultures or situations may put people in the same house. I've often thought, how about people that don't have family or family that have moved, because we're very transient these days. So one of the thoughts I had about the housing crisis is that potentially we could be pairing students with people living alone to reduce loneliness and helping social connection. So I thought I'd just bring that up on the point that you raised earlier. Yeah,
absolutely. You also mentioned before that grandfathers was a 40% increase in quality of life, and grandmothers 17%. Do they generally have different roles when they look after kids?
Yeah, so in this sample, like I said, they're aged 70 years or older, so we would have seen more of the males being the breadwinners and the women being the homemakers, and being so I think that's why we see different benefits on the pathway to longer longevity. However, as we know, with many families having two-person incomes, that this type of gender roles would be less as we get older. So I'm interested to see how it pans out for our generation further down the track.
Yeah, and you did mention that some people, aren't living close to their grandkids and maybe not be able to be on call all the time. But is there? Do you have any sense of if there is an ideal amount? Is it ideally 24 hours a day, or is like one a visit a month kind of get any benefits? Or is that for a further study?
That is definitely for a further study, but it's not just about, I think, how many hours or how many days per week. I think it's more about what is comfortable for the person, because some people do want to have other commitments, while some people do feel like they want to dedicate a lot more time as the primary purpose to their grandchildren. So I think it's more around those self-imposed boundaries about what people want rather than days and hours.
True. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you're listening to it and you have anything you would like to contribute. 1300 222 891 is the telephone number, or you can text it through 0467 922 891. We are talking with Dr. Roseanne Freak-Poli, and epidemiologist at Monash University, about some research that she's been conducting about the benefits of looking after grandchildren for grandparents and the different impacts that it has on their lives. Did you see any particular benefits to the grandchildren?
We're not recruiting children in this survey, because of the main focus on older adults and aspirin. But we do have some really great cohorts in Australia that we could delve into that a bit more, because we've collected across generations. So, it definitely could be answered.
Nice. Now, and we often did mention that, sometimes grandparents can't physically because they maybe don't have mobility, or maybe they're geographically displaced from their grandkids, and some other ways that they might be able to get involved with younger people. Do you think things like volunteering in their local community might have the same kind of benefits?
Yeah, we do know that volunteering generally has huge benefits to health and well-being and quality of life. So it might not necessarily be your own grandchildren. It might be volunteering at a local op shop, or food distribution, like Meals on Wheels or other facilities. That these can bring a huge sense of purpose, as well as increase your physical activity and communication with people, which are also great for longevity. And also, I've been thinking a little bit about, potentially there is a new market for an initiative that links people to families, like an adopted grandparent, because there's a lot of families out there that would like more help, and I'm sure that there's a lot of potential adopted grandparents that would like to engage with children. It's quite pleasurable, as I've heard many times from grandparents.
Yeah. I feel like your brain has been buzzing. You've got all these amazing suggestions for how this research can kind of be put into practice. What about like dog sitting or foster caring for dogs, or I guess cats as well, but if people are more pet-minded?
Oh yes, there's benefits for both of those. Particularly having cats lowers your blood pressure, apparently. But with dogs, it gets you out into the community, talking to people, particularly if you go to dog parks. So again, there's a huge social connection there with dogs, as well as getting out and about and walking them. So all of the examples you're coming up with have those two elements.
Right. Well, I think you and me need to have an idea session and register some domain names, because we've got a bunch of businesses that are going to change the world.
I'm sure they will come out. If people know that there's a market, then I'm sure that they'll start up.
There you go. Someone will do it. Right. And so any other interesting things come out of this research, other than the thing you're originally researching and also this?
Yes, generally this is part of a larger frame of research that we've been looking at, which elements of social interaction are beneficial for health and well-being. And what we've found is that particularly women who are connected to their family, to their friends, so that's having around 3 people that they can call on for help, or talk to about private matters. That's really beneficial for cognitive decline and cardiovascular disease. Whereas for men, it was more focused on family members. So we're coming back to these gender norms where the females have been connected to their friends, potentially through being a homemaker, whereas the men are more reliant on their family once they hit retirement for social connections. But just only having 3 people in your life, and you can count them as twice if you call on for them for help and can need to talk to them about private matters. So I think that this reduces the expectation around having a huge bunch of friends. It's more about having a few close friends.
Fascinating. Wow, okay. Well, I can't wait to see what comes out of that as well. Thank you so much for having a chat with us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great. Dr. Roseanne Freak-Poli there from Monash University with some really interesting research that's come out of other research. There we go. I'd love to keep getting your opinions on this. So 1300 222 891 or 0467 922 891 if you have any experience in either looking after grandkids and the impact it's had on your life, or if you have reasons for not doing so. Love to hear them too. Something that I thought was really interesting that she brought up almost at the start was the word sense of purpose and how useful that is into making sure that you have a long but also fulfilling life. So I'd love to know, if it's not grandkids, which it doesn't have to be, what is your sense of purpose? I hope you have one, and I hope it's really on the tip of your tongue, and you definitely know what it is when someone asks. But I'd love to hear what your sense of purpose is. 1300 222 891 or 0467 922 891. And if not, get a dog. That'll consume your life. All right, it's 6 minutes to 2. Let's get on another track. This is Susie Quattro.